What is up, people? It is Dave, it is Duncan, back from Metal Epidemic for another album review. And for this review, Duncan and I have been checking out the new album from Metalcore, Deathcore veterans, the Acacia Strain. The band's new album, Step Into the Light, will be released on May 12th via Rise Records. So, a little bit of information. This album will also be released alongside a second Acacia Strain album called Failure Will Follow on May 12th. That was a police passing. On May 12th.
I'm going to lock you up, Dave, for being so
What's that? Two
sexy.
albums on one day? No.
We're saying, though, not a double album.
Not a double album, two separate albums.
Yeah.
Which you will find a review for in the description below. So check
See how
out.
we're doing this? Synchronicity.
But let's get into Step Into the Light. This is album number 11, follows up the band's 2020 release, Slow Decay.
Yep.
Step Into the Light was produced by Randy LaBeouf and is 10 tracks long. It's a runtime of 23 and a half minutes.
I don't know why you're talking like this.
This is my new review voice.
I don't like it.
So, Duncan, we've been following these guys since the early days.
Also, I think I've said this before, Le Boeuf, isn't that French for the beef?
I hope so.
I think it's like, do you have beef with Le Boeuf?
He brings the LaBeouf.
Yeah, there's plenty of
Every
Le
album.
Boeuf in this, I'll tell you. It's Le Boeufy.
So going way back, 3750 was my introduction to the band.
The year 3750 was mentioned in the future.
No. 3750, the album,
Yes, I remember.
released in 2004.
Yes, although everyone remembers because you played that intro track like on loop
Oh, in fact, we used to
in years.
play that in the practice room when we were in a band.
On the
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, we used to like every time play it again.
yes,
And
and
we
I
just
used to
played it
sit there
on
and go, amazing.
When does the vocals come in?
I'm so glad
Never.
that I'm paying for this time right now.
Yeah, one of the best opening riffs ever, though. Come on.
I like it. Still stands like if like as an introduction to a band, it's maybe one of the best introductions to a band ever.
Yeah. Car Bomb is the track, just in case you're wondering.
Yeah. Also, great band.
See what you did there.
I know.
Yeah, so Acacia Strain, I think for me, like this band have been pretty consistent. Like I think after one there were maybe a couple of albums that weren't bad albums, maybe just didn't like hit the heights of some of their previous work. Recently though, kinda love what they've been doing.
They're an interesting, like, once again, they're another band where they're kind of seen as forefathers to that kind of deathcore sound, right?
Yes.
Because they're right on now, when I say deathcore, I mean original deathcore, not like 2023 deathcore.
Yeah.
Which is a different beast entirely. It's like, what's that? Their breakdown was like half time. Our breakdown needs to be 1/8 time. You know what I mean? It's that level where everything's just got infinitely fucking slower and longer.
Yeah. We're now
Acacia
doing
Strain were like, they were right on the. It wasn't even that they were on the. They're not the originators, but if you were to have a Mount Rushmore of deathcore bands, they're on that. But what was interesting about them is they didn't go down the same way. Like a band like Amur, who are around the same time. Amur kind of stuck to that pretty consistent. Like Amur, even now, like there isn't a huge gulf of difference between where they necessarily start. You can track it back quite comfortably. Like through this album, this is where they added this element, and then in this album, this is where they ditched this sound. Whereas I feel the Acacia Strain have never been. There always kind of feels like when they move into the next album, it kind of feels like they're organically trying something different. I mean, it's not like continent shifting, but it's to the point where they're like, we're going to go like what you did, they're going to do something a bit slower or something a bit more. They were one of the first bands to do that atmospheric thing without consciously having it through every fucking song in the background. You know, I feel like they never really get the full credit for how they've evolved as a band, which you're going to hear a lot of that as we talk about this, because this to me this year kind of feels like Acacia Strain finally weirdly delivering something that I think they should have delivered a long time ago. So we're going to get to that in the other review. But yeah, like Wormwood for me is, I know we have difference of opinions. Wormwood for me is my favorite album they did. I thought it was the like that album for me. I think it was a home run every single track. All the other albums, I know you're not the same as me.
No, I don't, I'm not saying that. I don't know if I could pick my favourite Acacia Strain album.
I
not
think
sure.
that one, it's the one where I think everything worked for me, and I think on some of the other albums there was a track here or there where I'm like that feels like a bit of a filler. But on that one, I was like every single track felt like every single track just felt gold, and some of the other tracks I feel like some of the other albums have like a huge collection. I don't think they've released anything bad, but they have a huge collection of gold with the occasional silver coin in there. If you know what I mean.
Nice.
So
I think recently is where they've really started to pick things up. It Comes in Waves was tremendous, really highlighting how bleak the Acacia Strain can be, with all that really like dark atmosphere, really ominous riffs. And I think it really showed that like fans of the band that there was still much more left in the tank from the Acacia Strain, and they weren't just going to be a band that would repeat the same album over and over again. Their last album, Slow Decay, was just a beast in all ways, an absolute juggernaut of an album that also combined some clever moments of melody, some of the atmosphere with a bit of a kind of like cinematic backdrop that just kind of made them sound even bigger. This album, Step Into the Light, so this album kind of aims, and they've said this in interviews and press releases and stuff, this aims to show a more traditional sound to the band. So this is not necessarily back to basics as such, but kind of giving you all the kind of crushing traits that you're used to hearing from Acacia Strain. However, it's this is an album that's very much, if you heard me say earlier, 23 minutes, very much stripped of any fat whatsoever. Like these tracks, this is what you call lean. These tracks are very lean, very straight to the point. There's no fucking around.
This
at
is
all.
Dave's Beachbody. That's how lean it is.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
This is washboard abs, Dave.
Of fat.
They just like every track is just slimmed right down. They just pick you up and slam you to the ground. The first three tracks are all under a minute 40 each. Like the first track is an intro of about 10 seconds, and then it's like straight to work. And the three tracks just hit you relentlessly, giving you a mix of the slow, the chugging grooves, a bit of that kind of up-tempo hardcore, and those kind of like very kind of jagged rhythms that are just very, very dissonant chords. And all three tracks are all different tempos, all showing like a different kind of level of heaviness from the band. They do expand on that ever so slightly on the longer tracks, of which there are about 3 that you would class kind of normal-ish length. Between
more room
like
to play around.
2.5 minutes.
I think that's
4.
why. I think like you get a little bit more because the track's a little bit longer. So.
Yes, yeah. You get a bit like a pinch more like atmosphere on Fresh Bones and Sinkhole, which is I think the longest track, about 3 minutes 47. They take a bit more time with those tracks, getting to the peak with a bit more building and like adding layers until the track reaches that kind of boiling point about a minute in. That track also features Tsunami vocalist Joseph Alfonso, which is great because his tone is completely different to Vincent's. It's a bit more in line with a more kind of traditional hardcore, which kind of makes the track stick out a bit more. The two tones work well against each other. You get more levels of intensity from a vocal point of view in that track. You also get a bit of that variance on Chain, which features Chambers, Jacob Lilly on guest vocals, and he adds a bit more of a kind of blackened, kind of scathing type vocal.
Not a Fleetwood Mac cover either.
Is not.
The word "the" isn't in the title. So.
No.
That was
unfortunately not. It was also really cool to see Untended Grave on the album. It was a single they released back in 22. A while back. I think it's a great track, and I loved it when it came out. It's very like kind of top tier Acacia Strain, like just showcasing how this band are operating now as songwriters in 2023. It's got it all. Like it's got the switch ups, the very rewarding breakdowns, and a little touch of that atmosphere just lingering in the background. Vincent like sounds unbelievable. Like
heavier than he's ever sounded.
it's
And I
tone, man.
don't know how. I don't know how, because it's clear there isn't a huge amount of fuckery going on there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is just, a lot of that is just pure force of will and vocal cords that will not break.
No.
At this point, this point right now, they're like an old woman's vagina. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's gnarled, like rubbery, and you know, chewy. I don't know where I was going with that. I had an image in my head and I'm desperately trying to get rid of it, but like, there is, at this point now, I don't think he's gonna, like, this far into their career, he's never gonna damage his voice.
I don't think so.
No,
I don't think it's
he's
possible.
not gonna Anselmo it, you know what I mean? He's not gonna be like you know, he's not going to go down as low. Like, he's got a technique and a tone that works, and but for whatever reason on this release, it's maybe its most savage.
It's unbelievable, and like I've had the pleasure of seeing them live, once with Vincent, once without. But enough said about that. The bear, but he is a powerhouse live. Like, his tone just sounds as visceral and corrosive live as it does on CD, which is amazing. I mean, I don't have huge amounts to say about this, to be honest. Like, it's kind of what you'd expect from a kind of traditional Acacia Strain sound. The production by Randy LaBeouf is thicker than Duncan's penis, to be honest, and it's pretty thick. And it's thick. I mean, I've seen it, and it is pretty thick.
What it doesn't have in length, he makes up in girth. That's right.
100%.
Call me the Rubik's Cube. I don't know why I said that either. There's something.
And this album, it fucks just as hard. I think if I had any like kind of criticisms of this,
do it.
It would be. I think like, understand the shorter tracks. Understand why they're there. They cut out a lot of the foreplay, you know, and they get like straight down to business.
No one likes foreplay.
There's no time for a little cigarette afterwards, nothing like that. Sometimes I felt like I was kind of like on the edge of something. I was like, I wanted a little bit more. Like they weren't maybe fully fleshed out. I think maybe it's just personal preference. I preferred the songs that were a little bit longer. However, that is the beauty of releasing a second album with 10+ minute songs. So they've kind of covered all the bases there. What about yourself? What are you thinking?
Well, let me get to my gripe right now. I actually want to expound a little more on that as an idea. And anyone that clicks on the following video will hear me from the other point of view.
Right.
I think this works and doesn't work because of the second album.
Right.
I think this one is so laser focused as being short, sharp, and to the point that I think a lot of the creative ingenuity of the band is almost stripped from this entirely.
Yeah,
it's there. It's heavy as fuck. It delivers, like you say, it's like a highlight reel. It's like if TikTok did like Acacia Strain tracks. That's what this is. Like, every track is about the length of a TikTok video with savagery, and then it's on to the next one. It has that, like, just these like tiny little morsels of fucking like delicious Acacia Strain goodness. But it doesn't have any of the daring and risk that the band have shown in previous releases. Instead, what they've done is removed that almost entirely from this release and done it on another release that they're releasing at the same time. And I question the logic behind that, because to me, this isn't a case of, if I'm in the mood for one thing, I'm going to listen to one thing, and if I'm in the mood for I'm going to listen to the other, one will be listened to more than the other. And that's, by its very nature, the one that I find the more interesting listen. This one delivers all the savagery. Like, if you are an old school Acacia Strain fan, which we both are, it's here. It's here. It slams. It's, you know, live. I can imagine these songs being kind of, a lot of them are grindcore length. You know, they get in, get out. That's, you know, they're designed, and they'll fit really, really well among songs that go a bit longer. It's just these savage stabs of brutality. But I think that there's something missing overall. which I get an abundance of in the other release. I think you're right. I think production is incredible. I think this is like, it's not the heaviest I've ever sounded. We're going to get to that. But there are moments on this that are eye-wateringly heavy. Like, just, and they're another band that just make it sound very easy. Like, I mean, when you hit play on an Acacia Strain album, your brain is going to feel a little bit dizzy by the end of it because it's just going to rattle you. Every time I feel like they've found the most disgusting guitar sound, or one of those low ends, there's a track that comes in, I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake. Like, just for fuck's sake. So it is a good Acacia Strain album.
Yeah,
like that's the best. The best I can say is it doesn't really put a foot wrong, but I don't think it does anything that I've not heard the band do.
True.
On many previous releases. So because of the nature of how they've released this, if this had have been a double album, I may have had more positive things to say. I've got nothing negative to say about it. If there's any comments at all, is that I feel like it, in my personal opinion, it is completely overshadowed by the other album they're releasing on the same day.
Completely agree.
Oh, I don't like it when we agree. I changed my mind. This is my favourite Acacia. Fuck Wormwood.
Yeah, when I listen to this, and I've listened to it a good 5-6 times because it is only like 20 odd minutes long.
You skip right through this, you know what I mean? This is easy to get through.
The main issue I have is it's not nearly as memorable as some of the other stuff that they've done because they've taken out a lot of those elements that make the tracks memorable. It's still got the heaviness in the riffs, but there are the kind of details and a lot of the kind of character that some of the other albums have. This maybe doesn't have quite as much, but they do have the other release as well.
We're going to get it. It's in another video which maximises our views. Not why we did it.
No, it's not really. Scores for this one from Acacia Strain. Still a lot to enjoy. Like, I still enjoyed it when I was listening to it. Is it up there with my favourite Acacia Strain albums? Probably not. I feel like they have much more memorable albums, but I don't feel disappointed by this. I think there are still plenty of moments on it where you'll feel like you're right in the groove and enjoying the heaviness. I just felt like the times that I enjoy Acacia Strain more is when they do have those slightly longer songs and they're including a few more different elements. This was, not predictable, but it sounded like old school Acacia Strain, but maybe not as good as the really early stuff either. I'm going to go 3.5 on this one. What are you thinking?
We are once again synced up. This is a 3.5. Like you said, I think it's not a disappointing album. That's the thing. Acacia Strain have never made a bad album, and they've continued to not make a bad album here. It is unfair that they have released a second album in light of this, because I may have went a 0.5 higher if the other one didn't exist. I may have. I don't know. It's savage. It gives you, like, if you like, and you could play this to death. That's the thing about it. You're talking about 5. I think maybe 6 or 7 times. And this is a stream that we got for this, and I fucking hate streams. But it's just too easy just to go back to the beginning and play it through again. But yeah, 3.5 for this.
Okay. Yeah. So Acacia Strain Part 1, Step Into the Light, will drop on May 12th on Rise Records. Links below to the band and the pre-order for this album. Link below to the next album from the Acacia Strain.
Maybe I've set up the expectations.
Maybe.
Acacia Strain 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Acacia Strain Step Into the Light, however, will be out on May 12th on Rise Records. Links below. Check out. Let us know what you think. Happy to hear your thoughts on it. That is the review. Thank you for checking it out. We'll be back with another Acacia Strain review very soon. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.